Okay. Hello everyone. I'm going to be talking about my Outreachy internship experience with the Yocto project. Um, so to begin with, I would like to introduce everyone to what Outreachy is all about, in case there is someone here that has no idea what Outreachy is all about. So Outreachy is basically a remote internship centered around diversity and inclusion in open source. And interns are being paired with expert mentors that have a proven track record of contributing to the set community. So the Outreachy internship, it is not only limited to coding, but it includes documentation, graphic design. So in case um, in case anyone is not interested in coding, the person can still um, find a project, maybe documentation, and contribute to open source. So I'll start by introducing myself, then I go to why I chose the Yocto project in the first place. Then I'll talk about how I started with the Yocto project. Joseph already started this. And I'm going to talk about my internship project, the challenges I faced, and what I learned. Um, I'm Ida Delphine, a student majoring in computer engineering in Cameroon. I'm actually in my my second year, and I have not been coding for long. I have been coding for just 2 years, and I'm currently exploring the embedded space. And also, I was an Outreachy intern with the Yocto project for the December 2020 to March 2021 round. So why the Yocto project? I have always been interested in embedded Linux and embedded systems. I have always been interested in embedded systems, but I didn't plan on working on something related to that before applying for Outreachy. So I was just going through, after applying for the Outreachy internship and waiting for the results, I was just going through the projects page of the Outreachy website, and I came across the Yocto project, and I read a little bit about it, and it seemed quite interesting. So I thought I should go for it since I already had interest in embedded Linux, and I thought it's going to be an amazing opportunity for me to grow my skills. And that's how I eventually reached out to Joseph. So I started by reading the documentation, the software overview. I remember I went through that, but I was a bit lost. I didn't get a lot of stuff, not because it wasn't not because it was hard to understand. It was just because I was new to this. I was new to a lot of terms didn't make sense to me because I was quite new to all of this. Like I saw stuff like layers, recipes. It was just abstract to me. So I reached out to Joseph, and he really gave me this nice explanation, this simple explanation of what the Yocto project is all about. And I really appreciate him for that. I'm extremely grateful because I feel like if he didn't brief me on what the Yocto project is all about, I wouldn't have gone that far. And after that, I joined the mailing list and IRC, and the community was just very welcoming, and I felt quite at home. Thereafter, I thought I should start contributing to the Yocto project because I had already read a lot about I had already read a lot in the documentation. So I went to the Bugzilla issue tracker and started looking for easy newcomer issues, simple newcomer issues. And I came across this issue. It was it was about adding SPTX license headers to source files. And that was where I started reading about licenses, because I really had no idea what licenses were all about and why they were such a huge deal when it comes to open source projects. So that was how I started reading about licenses and SPTX, and yeah, that was it. And after I did that, with the help of one of my mentors, Tim Orlin, I was able to submit my first batch. And really, it was hard. It was really difficult for me because initially I knew that in order for me to contribute or in order for me to submit a contribution, it's probably just through a pull request on GitHub. I had no idea there was something like patch submission. So it was something really new for me, and it took me a while to get how to send patches the right way for the Yocto project. My Outreachy internship project was to enhance the Yocto project license tracing, and my mentors were Paul Eagleton and Tim Orling, and honestly, they were the best mentors ever because they were just always there, and they were just always there to bail me out when I'm stuck, and whenever I was lost, they were just always there to explain things for me to understand. So I appreciate my mentors so much. So we all know that the Yocto project is used to build customized Linux images for embedded applications. And these images, are being, and this, oh my God. And these images are being, and a manifest, okay, alongside these images, a manifest of packages and licenses are being provided, and the accuracy of the licenses found in these packages are being determined by what we have in the metadata, that is what we have in the recipes. So my internship project was just, in summary, my internship project was for me to check or make sure that the licenses found in the output matches what we have in the recipes, that is the license fields found in the recipes. So my first task of my project was for me to take a proof. There was a proof of concept implementation of linking sources of linking sources that have SPDX headers to output files, and my first task was for me to get it to a stage where it can get the proof of concept implementation to a stage where it can be merged into the repository. So it was pretty much for me to just improve the code and make sure that the output doesn't contain a lot of redundant data. And as for my second task, I was supposed to examine the accuracy of license tagging and look for noise or look for errors or noise in the comparison. It was for me to like look at what I have in the output and make sure that it matches what is found in the recipes and produce a report of my findings. So I did that and shared with my mentors. And the third task was for me to run a check over sources in a word build, looking for percentage coverage of SPDX headers. And I should also do that for for the current and previous releases. So I ran this check at that time, the latest release was GatesGuard. So I ran the check for GatesGuard, and I did it for Zeus and for Donfell and Zeus. And the results I found were quite interesting because with Zeus, the percentage was really high. The percentage coverage of SPDX headers were really high. Then the percentage dropped for Donfell, and the percentage dropped for Donfell, and it later increased when it came to GatesGuard. So it was really interesting, and the whole internship experience taught me so much. Like, it taught me a whole lot. Here are some challenges I faced. At the beginning, understanding the Yocto project was just not easy for me, and I wouldn't say I understand it fully now, but compared to before, I'm way better now. And I had no idea about what layers were, what recipes were. I just kept seeing strange abstract terms. So yeah, it was really a challenge getting all of that in 3 months. Also, working on a huge code base. I had never really worked on a huge code base like the Yocto project, and trying to look at someone else's code and understand the person's code. So it was quite a challenge for me, but I found my way around it. And also, submitting my first patch was a problem because all I knew how to do was submit a pull request on GitHub. So it was quite a challenge for me understanding what patches are and finally submitting a patch the right way. I learned a lot throughout my experience with the Yocto project. I learned a whole lot, and I learned the Yocto project in general. Like in no time, I was already running my own builds. I learned how to submit a patch. I keep saying this because it was just amazing. I learned how to submit a patch. I learned about licenses and SPTX. Initially, I had no idea what licenses were, and I really got a little bit of insight into why it is very important to take licensing seriously. And also, I explored Git more. I say this because I screwed up a lot. There were lots of times that I screwed up the code so much that Git just had to save the day, and I go back to square one. So yeah, I explored a lot of Git commands to help me make my experience better. And also I improved my coding and Linux terminal skills, since the Yocto project has a lot to do with the terminal. Anyways, that's it about my experience with the Yocto project. I want to use this opportunity to thank my mentors, Paul Eagleton and Tim Orlin, so much for the amazing work. I want to also thank Joseph and the entire Yocto project community, because there were lots of time I ran into errors. I just ran into lots of issues with my computer, and whenever I presented that issue to the mailing list or on Freenode, there is just always that one person that will always respond and give me and just save the day for me. So I want to appreciate the entire Yocto project community. And you can connect with me on Twitter, GitHub, or if you have anything to tell me, be it career advice, my email is open, my inbox is open. So thank you all for listening, and that was it about my experience with the Yocto project.